In this program, we're focusing on planning, prioritizing, positioning, and performance. Let me see how many. And I broke it down yesterday. So in the planning phase, we're talking about leveraging your services and allocating your resources effectively. So if you know that your goal is 300,000, what services should you provide to make sure you can get to that number without exhausting yourself? So looking at your resources, what you already have, maybe you'll have to add additional things, but maybe not. If you look at what you already have and what you're able to do with your certifications, or if it's something that's easily you can easily add to what you're already providing, those are like the go-to before you try to add on something that's going to cost more resources. So then today we're talking about prioritizing. And that's when you're focusing on your specific goals and you're creating your plan based off of that. So exactly what I just said, looking at what services you can offer, what resources you already have, without having to, just because you have $10,000 for startup funds, don't mean you want to use that $10,000. You look at what you already have. I started my business in my car. I started with transportation. I had a small car. I didn't even have a van. I had a SUV, a Lincoln MKZ. And I grew my business. The first 6 months or so was just me and my car, and I grew my clients in transportation. That's the one I started with, was transportation. And I grew my clients, I grew my route up. And then after I grew that route, I started hiring people to take on additional routes. So I didn't use many resources at all. I already had my car. I was already using my car anyway. So being able to look at the resources you already have to meet your goal, that's why it's important to know your goal. And I know, like I said, I even started off not knowing what my goal was. I just knew that I wanted to make sure that I got clients. That's all I focused on. But as I grew, like I had a strategy. I'm a business growth strategist. And before I even knew like that was a title or anything, I really would strategize. I really would do these things. I knew when I first applied that I wanted to apply for as many services that I could because I wanted to make sure I succeeded. And in that, I developed this plan before I knew that I was going to make sure it had all the P's and make sure, clean it up and try to make it profitable. I really did these things and I saw them work in my life. And then when I started helping my friends, I saw it working with them. And then other people start coming to me because they saw me in the community and they saw what I was able to do and it started working for them. It wasn't until then I made it a academy and made it to help hundreds of people. So when you are thinking about your goals, like I said, you want to know, you want to have clarity. You want to have clarity of what numbers you're trying to hit day one so that you can back into that number, so that you can know what resources you need to allocate to make sure that you can back into that number. Any number is doable. Any number that you pull out is doable. It's just the amount of what sectors matter, what sectors you should start in, what billing rates what billable hours you're trying to go for. You want to just factor in all those things. So you start off with your number so that you can back into that number. How much do you want to make? How much are you making now? If you're already an agency provider, and this is for both, this is for employees and agency owners alike. If you're looking to launch, right now you're just an employee. But you need to know, just like some of you were saying, I want to double what I'm making now. I want to triple what I'm making now and make that your number. How long would it take you to get there? You need to think about that now. How long would it take you to get there if you don't do anything different today? If you're at employment right now and you don't do anything today, how long is it going to take you to meet your number? If you're an agency provider already, if you do not add any more services and don't change anything with what you're doing, how long would it take you? And are you comfortable with that number? Are you comfortable saying, well, it's going to take 5 years for me to hit 7 figures if I don't make a change today? Are you comfortable with that? Are you comfortable with those numbers or those factors? If you stay at your employment, are you comfortable with how long it'll take to do that? So grab a calculator. We're going to use myself as an example. You can use a calculator on your phone. The highest job I had, this was pandemic, so they weren't paying like they're paying now. So the highest paying job I had before I opened up my agency was $18. So let's use me. So $18, I worked 40 hours a week. So that's 720. If I'm trying to see how long it would have took me to get to 3.5 million, how much we're gonna divide the 720. Oh no, let's go. We're gonna divide the 3,500. And I did this on my computer already. We're gonna divide that by the 720, because that's how many weeks. That's how many hours per, that's how many weeks. And then we're gonna divide that by 52 weeks, because that's how many weeks is in a year. Anybody following me? Guess how many years it would have took me to get to 3.5 million? 93. It would have took me 93 years. If I never left my job, if I never decided that this is the day I'm going to take a leap of faith for myself and go out and see what I could do. I collapsed time. I made what would have took me a lifetime to generate. I made it happen in 2 years by just saying yes, and just something as simple as starting in my vehicle. Just saying yes and starting in my vehicle. Just saying yes and say, well, I'll just start with transportation because I don't know if I can do residential right now with it only being me. Just as simple, something simple as just starting. I was able to collapse 91 years and do it in two. That's what your homework could be today. See how long it'll take you. Is that mind blowing to anybody? Isn't that crazy? When you think about it that way, if you think about where you're at currently and where you're trying to go, and you take your goals serious of where you're trying to go, so you start looking at them compared to where you are now, isn't that mind blowing? So clarify your vision so you know what your vision is, so you can see how long it'll take, so you can hold it close to what you're making now. And then maximize your impact. Understand how to deliver the highest value through your services, ensuring the best return on your efforts. That's exactly what I was saying when I started the day program. I looked at I was billing Medicaid for the day program. I looked to see how much money I will be getting from the different clients that I was going to service, because I had to know that I was going to be able to pay my staff, be able to keep the lights on, be able to do all those things and service the clients. So yes, my vision was to service the clients, but the money did matter as well, because a part of serving effectively is making sure you have the resources to do so. Just having a vision isn't enough. Having a passion isn't enough. You need to make sure you have the resources to do so. And in order to do that, you got to do your homework. You got to do the research. You have to see how much would I get. And in doing so, I saw, because I originally thought that I was going to do the day program similar to daycare hours. So I'm thinking like 8 to 4 was going to be the times, until I did my research and I saw that the same person doing 8 hours was getting paid the exact same as a person doing 5 hours, because it was a daily rate. And you were getting the same daily rate after 5 hours. It was a cap. You wasn't getting more than the daily rate of 5 hours. So knowing this ahead of time allowed me to schedule my day program to be from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. That gave me, because yes, my employees wanted to be full time. Most adults want to be full time. They want about 40 hours. It allowed me to then add on the transportation in the morning for an hour and a half, picking up the clients. They came to the day program 9 to 2, and then an hour and a half taking them home. That allowed my same staff who did the day program to be my staff who did the transportation. I was billing for both services and I was paying them based off their hourly rate. So doing so, I was able to maximize my impact. I was able to make sure that I looked at the rates, looked at how much was going to be going out to the people who I hired, but also making it make sense. They was able to do two services. Turn challenges into opportunities. Recognize your limitations and transform them into strengths, empowering your journey to success. This is what I'm the best way to say this is count the money on the table. A lot of people say, don't leave money on the table, don't leave money on the table. But you don't know what you don't know. You need to count the money on the table. What are you leaving out? Do an assessment. If you already have an agency, do an assessment about what you could be doing during that time. Just like I was able to add on transportation, what if all I was doing was the day program and I left it at that? I would be leaving money on the table. But I added on the transportation as well, which not only made me attractive to potential clients coming to the day program, because of course they needed a way to get there. And I was able to say, oh, I can provide both. But it also allowed me to make sure I was using my resources and making sure I made more money with the time. Because I could have had people come, excuse me, I could have had people come an hour before time and get ready for the day program because they wanted a full schedule. I could have had them doing admin work just because they wanted a full schedule. But I was able to make sure that I was getting more money during that time by adding on additional service. Something else that you could do if you're going to do a non-medical day program and you're doing your hours just 5 hours because that's the daily rate for you. You could have added on something else like Meals on Wheels. I could have had the staff an hour and a half in the morning, hour and a half in the evening going to deliver the meals, whatever it may be. You just want to make sure you're not leaving money on the table and you know these things. A good thing about those who are launching is you know these things beforehand so you can make your whole plan. But even for the agency, if you're trying to grow to 6 and 7 figures, it don't just happen. You have to research what you're doing now. You got to do an assessment of what you're doing now, what you have now, and what you can add on so that you can be able to benefit. Money on the table, not counting the money on the table does not mean that you're not losing it. You're still losing it. You just naive to not want to know how much you're losing and to do something about it. I'm going to introduce you to Shamar. So Shamar, I actually helped him get certified prior to our second time when I was able to help him strategically align his services to get the most of it. I don't know, somebody was saying something. To get the most of them. So when I originally worked with him, he was excited. He was certified in 5 entities because I helped him get certified. I supported him in doing so. So of course he was certified in 5 different entities, and he was happy about that. He was happy about the fact that he was certified and was able to do X, Y, and Z. But he wasn't making that much money, even though he was certified in that area. He was making about $2,000 a month. So what I did was an assessment. I did an assessment of the money that was left on the table. I did an assessment about what money could be made in the same amount of time that he was working right then. That's where we started. Just simple as that. Not talking about adding on more time, not talking about spending money on more services or anything else. Just simply looking at what you're doing now and how much money you can make if you take an assessment of those simple things. The first thing I noticed after doing an assessment on all the entities that he was providing was transportation. Transportation, he was taking somebody a large amount of miles. a large amount of miles. And those miles were, for instance, could have been about 50 miles to and back. So let's say it was taking about an hour to be able to deliver that time. In that same amount of time, in that same hour, I had an agency who was able to pick up and drop off 4 individuals. If he provided, instead of the per mile rate, he billed for the per trip rate, he was able to make the same exact as that person who was doing it for more people. That is what I'm talking about money on the table. Just simply making changes like that, making changes like, no, we're not driving 50 miles to service somebody for non-medical transportation when we can drive 1 mile and get the same exact pay. Because if you bill per trip, the miles do not matter. And you could potentially pick up 4 people in the same neighborhood and drop them off to the same place and make more money than the person who's going 50 miles out their way and only able to service that one client during that time. So just making a change like that brought him from $2,000 to $42,000 a month in our first 4 months working together. And of course, we did assessments for the other sectors and things like that. But I'm just giving you an example of money being left on the table, not knowing, not doing your research ahead of time, and just offering a service and not making sure that that service makes sense for your agency, makes sense for your time, and it's billable. Does that make sense? I hope I'm helping somebody. So after this, like I said, he was able to bring up to 42,000 a month. So today we're going to have a simple homework assignment that's allowing you to talk about your goal and the number you want to hit as well. You'll find that in the Facebook group. I hope you all are a part of it, but you'll receive an email that has the replay option to see the replay and everything we discussed today, and it'll have the link to join the Facebook group as well.